Okay, let's please begin. Those of you who are watching at a later now moment than the live recording, a very big welcome to you. It's still now, wherever you are. In fact, it'll always be now, wherever you are. So I hope you're enjoying your now for real. And I hope you're present too, that it's now, as opposed to wandering in the past or extrapolating about the future. It's great to have a focus for the future, but when that focus turns into feeling like a grab, the thoughts have a grab to them, like Velcro or stickum, something sticky, then that's an indication of an opportunity for a reset. A reset. To all of you who've made it here to the live recording, welcome. It really makes a big difference to have you here when I'm recording. Your listening draws things out. So you are an active participant even though you're not the one speaking. How you listen to anyone shapes and directs energy. So let that be your first principle here. I'm going to lay out the whole thing in short form. Are you going to get every point in your body down to your bones so that you never, ever, ever struggle ever again with any of the areas of life that are concerning prosperity, health, wealth, wisdom, and love? Probably not. Most of us have a number of years in a body being socially constructed and conditioned to see life in certain ways. Just see if you can zoom out, kind of like you're zooming out wider than your own personality. See if you can observe between you and, say, somebody living in Kyoto, Japan, or somebody living in Marbella, Spain, or somebody living in Tibet, or somebody living in Beijing, might there be things that you see differently from each of these people? The same item, let's say a cheeseburger. Your opinion and view on a cheeseburger is likely to be different than somebody who grew up in rural India, is it not? First of all, many of the people living in India are vegetarian. That's how they were socially constructed. Many of the people in India, and some other countries too, from a Western point of view, we'll say a Protestant maybe point of view or a Catholic point of view, would be like, oh, this is a land of so many different gods and goddesses and pantheism, but that's actually not actually what's going on over there. Or somebody from that region of the world, socially constructed to see that there are many forms of consciousness that can actually have a face or a shape, but they're all made of the one, that there's just one creative power. They may look at us and certain of our habits, whether it's our social habits, hugging, for example. I worked with an Indian guru for a little while, for a few years, who was just kind of like beside himself about the need for Americans to hug everybody, said he. Now, you may not have grown up in that way. You may have grown up like my aunts and uncles on my mom's side, who did not experience hugging until they were adults and found it incredibly uncomfortable, like this teacher I worked with. So we're all socially constructed. What does that mean, socially constructed? The people around us, starting with our primary caregivers, whether that was your biological parents, your adoptive parents, an orphanage, had beliefs about life. Some were accurate, some were inaccurate. Some were limiting beliefs, some were beliefs that supported expansion and flowering. So if you just kind of examine yourself as though you're a neutral, loving outsider looking at your personality structure, how have you been socially conditioned around abundance? Who can have it, who cannot? How much somebody can have or how little somebody can have until the judgment changes? What about money? How have you been socially conditioned around money? This is $10,000. $10,000. Not spendable though, because it's actually set money, prop money that I purchased. But it looks like real money if you're not looking too close and don't see the word copy on the top of each slip, each bill. But the point is to get more accustomed. For some of us, the interest in this work of abundance work is literally for visible money. For some of us, it's developing greater wisdom, an abundance of wisdom that's embodied, especially when we feel compromised or challenged or reactive. For some of us, it's love. For some of us, it's health and vitality. What are your areas? If you did not limit yourself with somebody else's beliefs projected onto you about religiosity or spirituality, what are the things that you really desire for yourself in your life? And to be able to share, to have plenty to share with others. Is it health and vitality? Is it love? Is it money? Is it all of the above and more? If we cannot let ourselves be honest about our desires, we're creating tension in our nervous system. And the nervous system is one of the primary distribution mediums for the creative power of life. It flows through your nervous system. It's said that we enter the body on the first inhalation. If an infant does not take that first inhale, does not inhale, it's considered stillborn and the body is properly taken care of, like cremated or buried or disposed of in some way for sanitation. And then on the last exhalation, perhaps you've been around for somebody for this very powerful happening. It may have been simple and quiet, but it's very powerful to be present when somebody exhales for the last time from the body, or even in that last 20 to 30 minutes. The changes, they're mostly out of the body. So while we're in a body, what's actually enlivening the body? The creative power of life. The creative power of life that's been called by so many different names. It can be called Kundalini. It can be called Kun. It can be called Ruach. It can be called Ein Sof. It can be called Allah. It can be called Yud-He Vav-He. It can be called any number of things, or not called anything, but we can expand our awareness that there is a creative power that is no more and no less in any location. Now, I can already hear a few of you, or maybe it's just my own inner voice going, yes, but I've been in Sedona in Hawaii, and it definitely seemed like a more powerful place energetically. For me it was, but somebody else might have hated it. I've actually talked to people, they're not my friends, but who didn't really enjoy Sedona at all. They're like, I don't get it. So take a couple of deep breaths through your whole body, really deep breaths, and as you exhale, have the feeling like your muscles, your tendons, all the cells are letting go on each exhale as though you're setting down a heavy burden. I like the example of coming up my stairs with a heavy suitcase from traveling, and when I finally get to set that sucker down, I usually audibly sigh. It's like that. And if you could turn this into a regular practice, if it's not yet a regular practice. Now, you don't need to audibly sigh in the business meeting or on the bus next to people. Like, we can be mindful of that when we're around other people. We can do things quietly and they can still be powerful. But what if you turn this into a habit? And you combined it with my 6 points of softening. What is that? That's softening with your imagination, like you're opening imaginary fists with your mind, softening the soles of your feet, the palms of your hands, the inside and outside corners of your eyes melting like butter on a hot day, the region inside and around your ears, your tongue, and all the muscles of the pelvic floor groin region, soles, palms, corners of the eyes, region of the ears, tongue, and pelvic floor. And if you're just imagining melting them all, making it up that it's easy, as you inhale deeply and exhale slowly, and let go throughout the body on each exhale like you're setting down a heavy burden. If that's the only thing you took from this masterclass, and we're applying it consistently, diligently, you not only transform your own nervous system over time, but you telegraph to anybody animals, whether they're domesticated or wild, other people, without saying a word, you telegraph to their nervous system, it's safe to relax. This is really helpful if you're ever feeling that conflict is beginning to arise between you and another, whether that's a so-called stranger or a so-called friend. If you can we can radically soften the body, soften the 6 points, inhale deeply and exhale slowly through the nose, we telegraph to their nervous system, you're safe with me. And when their nervous system feels safe with us, it's much easier to navigate what seemed like a misstep or a conflict. In the space of tension, and you've experienced this, whether it was parents or lovers or spouses or children, when somebody's really tensing up in front of you, your nervous system feels that. So we can reverse that. Take another really beautiful deep breath through your whole body, as though you're just pouring love through every cell. Because you're absolutely worth it. And so are all the people who will encounter you while you're allowing yourself to feel enough. There are some very, very key fundamental principles in how energy works, and particularly how abundance works, or what we can call manifestation. I still choke on the word manifestation because in the popular culture, it's become a way to avoid dealing with oneself and forcing life to give us goodies, is some of the projection. And this is why some people actually turn away from doing abundance work when it would really actually benefit themselves and everybody they're connected with. The easiest thing to talk about when we're talking about abundance work, because it is such an important thing at this time on the planet, is visible money. But it's not the only thing to talk about. There are plenty of people, and you may know some of them, maybe you are one of them, who has plenty of money, but no or very little abundance consciousness. We don't have to go farther than reading the news to get a sense of this. Some of the folks who have tons of money and maybe very little compassion, or they don't share their wealth. I actually heard recently, I think it was the other day, I was sharing with somebody about this masterclass and the course that's going to follow on prospering, that Bill Gates has committed, I believe publicly, to giving away all his wealth in the next, 30 years or something, or maybe it's before he passes. All of it. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Now, let's not get into the intricacies of how he chooses and selects and where he gives. But that is more in the direction of abundance consciousness. Repeat after me. We're going to do something here right now, right here, that is part of many streams of abundance work, which is working with something called an affirmation. And I just want you to notice in the magnified space of all of us here from around the world, the last time I checked, there were something like around 800 people signed up for this masterclass, many of whom are watching at a later now. A small portion are watching in the live. But just all of us focusing on this together can make anything easier to feel and experience. So we're going to work with an affirmation. And I want to be clear that an affirmation is different than a mantra. When you hear me speak about mantra, I'm speaking about Sanskrit mantras that are calibrated, holographic, multidimensional sound pulsations that create and transform. Affirmation is a way of retraining our awareness in our mind. It does direct energy because every thought does, but it's distinct and different than a mantra. So we'll do this a couple of times together, and I'm encouraging, if you're in a space where you can do it out loud, even if it's at a lower voice, that you just do that. And you say it as you would say it if you knew it was true for you already. So imagine being 5 or 6, in the playhouse with all the other kids when you're playing dress up. You don't think about this is made up. You just play. And you have experiences. You might even have real fights with your made up spouse in kindergarten playhouse. I remember doing that. Or like all sorts of things. So you make it up that it's already true. This is a very key thing. When we make it up that it's already true, when we're saying something beneficial out loud, something that has an exalted energy to it, we accept it more in the nervous system. You see, your primary vibration in your nervous system, your primary thoughts, your primary emotions, run energy through the nervous system that sets up what you attract and what you repel. All of us. There is nothing in existence that we are separate from. Nothing. So we don't need to get on the rooftop and shout, "Hey God, send me some money." Or goddess, or black space if you're, an atheist, or whatever you believe. There's some creative power and you're like, "Hey, send it over here." You don't need to shout because all that power is where you are. You're not separate. I've investigated a number of very powerful ancient teaching streams for wakefulness and abundance over many, many years. And all of them point out, even the New Testament, that all the powers of the divine are within us already and within all of existence. Alchemists understood this. But about 6,000 years ago, there was what's called the Great Forgetting. How many times have we done this? I don't know. Maybe over and over again like a broken record. Remember, forget, remember, forget, remember, forget. Oh, right, all is one. Everybody is an emanation of the one. Everybody's worthy of my love and respect, as am I. Oh, there's nothing wrong or missing. And then some other, time period comes along and people are hanged and burned and, drowned for knowing these things and telling others about it. Well, at the moment, seems like, at least here in the US at the moment, nobody's being hanged, drowned, or burned for sharing the truth about how energy works. So what's the affirmation? Let's start with a simple one. I now turn my mind, say it out loud, I now turn my mind to thoughts of plenty. Try it again. I now turn my mind to thoughts of plenty. Say it with conviction, not like you're forcing it, but like you know it's true. I now turn my mind to thoughts of plenty. And then do. What would you feel right now if you knew there was plenty of everything that matters in life? Friendship, play, partnership, collaboration, joy, visible money, health and vitality, creativity, fun. If you imagine the plenty, what do you start to, if you imagine that it's really, really, really real right now, already so, what starts to happen in your body? What's changing in your breath? What's changing in your spinal position? This is how you change everything without changing anything. Working energetically. Does that mean that there won't be actions to take? No. But when you and I are in an aligned space with what we want, we're energetically and emotionally and psychologically and mentally aligning with what we say we want, then this or something better can come into our lives because there's an attraction pattern, there's an energy pattern set up. This is physics, not morals, folks. There's an energy pattern of like attracts unto like. This is how it works. This is how it works. With every thought, energy is being shaped and directed. Now, I said I'm going to lay out the whole system of how it works. Practicing it, getting deep with it, is a whole other matter. So, everything you want comes through a combination of intention that's clear, attention. You have to have your attention on the already fulfilled state of your intention, and the willpower to keep redirecting your attention. Intention, attention, and willpower. That's it. That's the whole thing. Everything you have in your life has been coming into you in that way, consciously or unconsciously. Every single thing. When you're sitting around, I'm about to curse, so if you're worried about that, cover your ears. If you're sitting around going, so-and-so's an asshole, so-and-so's an asshole, I can't stand him, can't stand him, can't stand him. Whenever you're around them, even if everybody else experiences them as a saint, you're going to experience them as being an asshole, no matter what they're saying or doing. Now, the sad thing, and it's so common, is so many of us are telling ourselves we're the asshole and suffering accordingly in some area of life. Where are you tamping you down? Because it became a habit and you forgot to notice that it was a habit that you could actually transform. How do you speak to yourself about yourself? Is it in encouraging ways? Those of you who've been around my courses recently in the last couple of years know that I've been bringing in the healing of attachment wounds, attachment patterning. And for those of you for whom this is a new phrase, attachments in this sense is how we learned to form our attachments to other humans through how we attached to our primary caregivers in the early years. And if that doesn't get healed, it not only affects how we form and deepen lasting relationships, or don't, it also forms how we form a relationship with the key resources of life. So somebody who grew up like me with an insecure attachment pattern and has worked diligently to heal it, money was not terribly different than friendship or partnership with wonderful people. There was a basic sense of unworthiness that was completely made up. I've got memories to refer to. Some of you who've been around me forever haven't even heard this. There was a period in my life when I was in the 6th grade when we lived in government subsidized housing and were on food stamps. Couldn't afford new clothes, was going to a school in Somerville, South Carolina, one of the richest areas of South Carolina, with all these wealthy kids. I'm going to date myself now as a Gen Xer, who had when it was cool and new, the members only jackets. Every guy and girl had a members only jacket. And I was the schmo that didn't have one, who had holes in his pants. So if I still live in that past, if I haven't cleared that, if I haven't transformed that thought each time it rises with a spaciousness and a love and a staying until it melts, then that is how I've been socially constructed, one of many data points that informs how I see a bill when it comes into the mail that may not be correlate to the amount of money I see in the bank account. We've done this in our own way with so many things. Map yourself into the conversation, and this will be one of the most productive times you've spent, most likely, for you and for everybody you're connected with. Because as you and I become more and more abundant in all the forms of abundance, there is a transmission of energy to other people without us saying a word, without us having to be a public teacher. Nod your head on the live if you're following, if this is starting to make some sense. Good, this is helpful. Remember, when I'm on with you live, I've got you on gallery view. So your face can be really supportive to the work, or it can be like this. Makes a difference. And it's related to everything that we're talking about. Smile at your destiny. Smile at your now. Even if you don't prefer your now, smiling at your now authentically, like a whole-bodied smile. Imagine if all the cells could smile. What would that feel like? Try that right now. Just playfully. There's no right way to do this. Just imagine all the cells of your body, including your face, smiling. And if that really sucks, you can stop it. But here's the point, folks, and I can see your cute smiles and giggles. It doesn't suck, but we get distracted by what? Our old stored tension patterns related to our attachment patterning, our attachment wounds. Somebody says something, or we are reading the so-called news. I don't even care what news outlet you follow. You watch 5 minutes or so and get attuned and entrained to what their perspective is. It doesn't feel like a whole-bodied smile. So we must become vigilant without tension. As we choose to train ourselves to become vigilant with every thought, and that's not micromanaging. When I'm talking about vigilance here, I'm not talking about somebody who's in fight, flight, freeze. I'm not talking about that kind of vigilance. I'm talking about awareness, presence. With great presence, you can notice a thought and you sense where it's going to go, and you stop elaborating on that thought in the moment. You cease the elaboration of that thought. If you're early in your practice, and that doesn't mean you're less or not good enough or anything goofy or made up like that. If you're earlier in your practice, that's not so easy to notice the thought and clip it, stop elaborating on it before it goes further. So what your focus is, if that's not yet easy for you, is you focus radically on softening soles of the feet, palms of the hands, corners of the eyes, region of the ears, tongue and pelvic floor. Breathing through your nose on the regular, doing your best to have 6-second inhales and 6-second exhales. In that practice, ongoingly, your nervous system is more at rest, at ease, which means your perspective can be much wider. When we're chronically stressed, our perspective is very narrow, and it tends to keep seeing evidence for that we should be stressed out, even if we don't need to be. Take a deep breath, everybody. Breathe. Let go as you exhale. Intention, attention, and willpower are how we transform anything, are how we accomplish anything. One of the old school teachers, she's still alive, Catherine Ponder. Some of you may have studied her materials back in the day. She wrote a famous book called The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, and a bunch of other books, many other books. She was a famous unity minister. And she would say over and over in her lectures, if you want money to get definite about you, you need to get money definite about money. If you want abundance to get definite about you, you need to be getting definite about your abundance. What does that look like? What do you want? What do you really want? To just sit and be in that inquiry can be very clarifying. What do I really want? If I know that anything is possible, just about, what do I really want? To actually consider, because some things, let's say you said, oh, I want to get out of this house. That's all I just want to no longer be in this house. I don't want to be associated with this house. If that's the intention that you're beating the drum of long enough, your house might burn down. You got out of the house. Or it gets hit by a tree, or whatever. So be clear in what you want. How many of us are phrasing what we want by saying what we don't want? The house is an example of that. Well, guess what you're going to get more of when you focus on what you don't want? More of what you don't want. So how are you using the incredible creative power of language to shape and direct energy? Or has it been using you? Has it been using you? It's a new moment. It's a new moment again, and it's a new moment again where you can choose freshly. Here's another powerful affirmation. I now give thanks. Say it out loud. I now give thanks. And feel that you're giving thanks. Some of you are like, I don't know if I want to give thanks just yet. I don't know what we're giving thanks. No, just be thankful. Just experience that. It's like the whole body smile. I now give thanks for a quick and substantial increase in my financial income for my personal use, with plenty to share and spare. I now give thanks for a quick and substantial increase in my financial income for my personal use, with plenty to share and spare. If we stopped that affirmation earlier at any place, we're missing the definiteness, the clarity, the precision. You could say, I now give thanks for a quick and immediate increase in my financial income. Well, if you stop it right there, it may be met by a whole lot of bills that spend all that money right away. So you're no further ahead, right? You know, a sudden tooth bill or a sudden car bill, you know, the engine needs something. So we'd be clear. We'd be clear. Do we forever have to articulate everything down to, as my mom would say, dissecting the gnat's ass? A gnat is a tiny bug for those of you coming in from other languages. So to dissect the gnat's butt, it would be like tiny surgery, very precise. No, we don't need to do that for the rest of our lives. Where this goes is we get habitual about practicing a chosen feeling state that is radically abundant. So there's two main paths when we're talking about working with the alchemy of manifestation or abundance. One is to come completely into harmony with what is and be manifesting within oneself the experience of being in total abundance, and then let life bring whatever is correlate without directing it. Another way to go is to get specific. Is one better than another? No, you've got to play around with this stuff enough. Now, if you're hopping around from technique to technique to technique to technique, not staying long enough for something to bear fruit, well, that's like the bee going from flower to flower to flower, never collecting enough nectar to make honey. I get letters from time to time, you know, when I rolled out the Abundant Joy course for Commune, when I taught the Thriving Life Blueprint last year, and surely, you know, now with this masterclass, oh, well, I've read all the books and I bought all the things and my life still sucks. It hasn't made me any money. I'm not financially free or healthier. Can you hear the energy in that way of communicating? Those of you on the live nod yes if you follow it. Just going to get more of that. And I have sympathy and empathy and compassion for that. But like, until that's interrupted and a new rhythm is inserted into their thinking and emotional constitution, nothing is going to change. You could read all the best books. You could be reading Abraham Hicks and Catherine Ponder and Napoleon Hill and John Randolph Price and Eric Butterworth. Those are my primary sources. Or you could have done D.R. Butler's, 20 some odd years of home study course, or his predecessor, Dr. Carruthers, all my sources. And still be an asshole to yourself. But the thing is, if you're making yourself wrong about being an asshole to yourself, you're missing the important data, which is you didn't start out that way. You learned that. You learned that. Any of you who are highly critical of yourselves, you weren't that way as a baby. You learned that. That's what's called in psychology an introject or an introjection. You were heavily criticized by somebody or several somebodies who mattered to you. You internalized the voice of criticism, and that just became a natural way of navigating life. It's well meant. It's meant to keep you safe and okay and this and that, but does it really? So that voice is not your fault, but you do need to interrupt it. That voice is not your fault, but you do need to transform it if you want things to change for yourself and others. Now, many of us will not do this work just for our own sake, because our patterning is so rigid and fixed. But we may do it because we care about the other people we interact with, at a distance or in person, and the possibility of uplifting this world and leaving it a better place for humanity 7 generations from now. Humanity and all creatures, really. So see where you land on that. Will you do this just for you? If the answer is yes, great. Doesn't mean you're a narcissist. It means you're just ready. When you look at your past, is it difficult? Then for you, it may be easier to think about for yourself and for others. I always think about for myself and for others, because I don't want to get caught up in things that are at all just for me. I love buying people a meal, who didn't expect it, or an unexpected gift. But to be able to do that, I have to have the resources. So how lovely to have the extra resources, even if it's just to give. Can you imagine, right now, I want you to do a little exercise. So take a deep breath, elongate your spine freshly, so there's got room for the energy to move. I want you to imagine that in whatever closest the equivalent is in your country's currency or the currency you use, you have $1 million tax-free given to you to give away. $100,000 you can spend on you, okay? But we're going to set that aside for now. We'll do that. That'll be the next exercise. Where would you give? Like, let it really come from your heart. Where would you give? Where would you give? Well, let's say it's $100 million. Let's make it really big so you don't feel like you're limiting yourself on where you can give. $100 million tax-free. Where would you really actually give? I want you to imagine you actually can see that number in your bank account. $100 million. Where would you give? Would you give to cleaning up the oceans? Would you give to orphanages? Would you give to religious organizations? Would you give to building a better AI? Would you give to, what would you give to? There's infinite places to give. Even in the private sector, where would you give? If you knew you had infinite wealth to give from, where would you give? And what does it feel like to imagine actually giving it right now? To feel that, to feel the feeling of actually giving it. Let that be real. Imagine yourself, see yourself writing those checks to these places. See their faces as they light up with resources. Maybe you're giving it to science. Maybe you're giving it to research. And it's just enough to take it over the top and a cure is found for something. Wow. Maybe you're giving it to potable water, wells, and healthy sanitation in places that don't have it. See the faces of all the children and mothers in that place when they have potable water and sanitation. Is your heart starting to open? Raise your hand alive if your heart's starting to open a little wider. You feel it? Yeah. This is a key to abundance. Abundance is not just beating the drum of affirmations to get money. That's not abundance consciousness. That's just money consciousness. And there's nothing wrong with money. It's been said, and I haven't checked out the exact research statistics, so I don't know how quantitative this is or how wide the research is, that 90% of the world problems amongst humanity are driven by poverty. 90% of the world's problems are driven by poverty. Hunger, sanitation, health and vitality, destruction of the environment, chemical spills, so many things are driven by money. The lack of money, taking shortcuts. So we want to let go. If any of us have demonized or been brought up demonizing money, there's nothing wrong with money. It's just paper that's printed. It's an agreement. That's all it is an agreement. This is an agreement that you can take this somewhere and exchange it for goods and services. You also have plenty of services you can provide. You are wealthy. But if you're only measuring your wealth with visible dollars, you're missing how much wealth there is in this world. How many skills and capacities do you have in the kitchen, with design, with kindness, maybe massage, maybe crocheting or knitting or crafting? I mean, you've got so many things you know how to do, but if it doesn't seem like it can bring visible money, you mistake it. You don't see it as a form of wealth. There's a lovely woman that I'm hoping to have on my podcast soon, Kristen Ragusin, who wrote a book called The End of Scarcity. She's a financial manager for big dollar amounts and went around the world for a number of years studying with all these incredibly luminous economists. First of all, our money system in the US and many other major countries is a debt-based money system. Which that means is for me to have this $10,000, if it was actually real $10,000, you have to have $10,000 of debt. Yes. Every dollar that's printed represents a dollar of debt. When that debt is paid off, that dollar is not just freely available, it goes out of circulation. That's a debt-based economy. There have been other economies that are abundance-based. Henry I enacted one for about 700 years in the UK area. There was an abundance-based economy. How does an abundance-based economy work? You have to not have more money in circulation than there are real goods and services to exchange. And you have a way for people to exchange their visible money for goods and services. In that economy, people recognize how wealthy they are. They recognize they have goods and services. All sorts of goods and services. Raise your hand alive if you've ever bartered successfully. Wow, look at that. So there's lots of ways to exchange that aren't just visible money. And it's helpful for any of us who've got hang-ups around money to see that we can actually bring it in and in unexpected ways. And love and care and health and vitality and collaboration. What is money if not a collaboration? How it gets to us is a collaborative effect. Yet we live in a society, unfortunately, this is part of being in a debt-based economy that breeds intense competition. I, me, and mine. I'm protecting I, me, and mine. Me first, us first, our country first. That's not how nature works. Everything in nature depends on everything else in nature. Sun, soil, rainfall, pollination, all the critters that we need, bees, hummingbirds, all the pollinators that spread seeds. Even, I know we don't love them, but even mosquitoes are important. It's true. Now, later in the summer, when our Prospering course is towards its end, you may hear me go, ow, God damn it, when I'm recording some section of the course, because there's these black, nasty mosquitoes with these long swords on the end of their nose. And they go in multiple times around the ankles and leave these big, itchy welts. But the truth will still remain that mosquitoes are important. Those are the moms who are looking for a protein meal to feed their babies. If that was an adult human mother doing whatever it took to get food on the table for her babies, we would think about it differently. So we have a bit of speciesism. Some species are better than other species. Says who? How do you know that the mosquito isn't an enlightened being? Smart enough to only come in for, I don't know, however long they live, like a week or so. Smart enough to come in for a week, dance around, see some things, make some babies, and get out of Dodge and go to something else in some other cosmology. I don't know. But the point is, everything is in collaboration with everything else. Many of us have been in collaboration with lack and scarcity for a very long time. We support it with our thoughts. We support it with our actions. We support it with our beliefs. A belief is a thought you keep thinking often. A belief is a thought you think often. So when we're talking about working with affirmations, and some of you, that might be a really powerful thing. Working with affirmations and saying them like it's already so. You can't just say the words and think it's like abracadabra, something's going to happen. You've got to have the feeling tone moving through the nervous system. The affirmation is to activate the feeling tone, not just to have yourself being busy saying words. And then there's a transformation. Now what happens for many, 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 many people, take a deep breath before, because this one's going to be like, oh, really? He said that? Many people only will do this work when there's sufficient suffering in their lives, and only until they get provisionally out of the zone of suffering, and then have to go recreate some more suffering again. For some people, that's continually having health crisis. Some people, and not all people, okay, so don't make up I'm saying that because you're sick, there's something wrong with you. I'm not saying that at all, not even remotely indicating that. What I am indicating is some of us grew up socially constructed that the only way we could get time, care, and attention from the people we cared about was to have something wrong. If we look culturally, we can see some cultural differences. Like I have a great number over many years of Asian and Southeast Asian friends. How Asian folks have been parented, I'm told, your parents generally, unless they were really westernized, didn't give you tons of hugs and kisses and say, I love you, you're beautiful, you can do it so well. They said, you can do better. You bring home an A-, they say, you can do better. But my grade improved from a C. Good, you can do better. This is coming from not your parents being mean, but generations of people coming from surviving and realizing that we need to have the resources. So I'm going to parent you in such a way that if I'm no longer around, I know you're going to be able to survive financially. You may hate yourself, but I'll know you'll have your money. You may think you're ugly, but you'll have money. So we don't necessarily see the impact until later or until we're on the outside of it, looking back. And I'm not focusing only on Asian cultures. Each culture has its relationship. Before there was a sort of a renaissance that started around with the transcendentalists. Ralph Waldo Emerson, his essay on compensation, the law of compensation, I think it is. Compensation, I believe that's it. Somebody knows better than me, you can share it later. Is where a lot of these writers on abundance get their work. Also from Emily Cady's work, but a lot of it is referenced in Hermetic alchemy. A lot of it is referenced in the Old and New Testament. There are plenty of phrases in the Old and New Testament. I will pour out a blessing so big that you can't even contain it, is one of the ones in the Old Testament. Yeah, so many. But the point I wanted to make is before the transcendentalists, Christian teachers, priests, pastors, and whatnot, were hammering the thing about money is the root of all evil. What do they do some point during the service? It involves a basket. Money's the root of all evil, but give us some. We'll collect some evil here and we'll do good with your evil. Doesn't work like that, folks. That's incredibly confusing. That's really weird messaging. So around the time of the Transcendentalists, and this is when you got Napoleon Hill coming in with Think and Grow Rich. You've got the early teachers from the Unity movement, Millard Fillmore, I can't remember all these names all at once. But there's all these writers that then started to help Christian pastors, preachers start to talk about, oh, money's not evil. God wants you to prosper. But that's not what we remember. Just like our early lives, we don't necessarily remember all the wonderful moments with our parents. We remember the ones that sucked and hurt. I don't know why that is. I have a feeling it's a biological survival mechanism. If we just think about ourselves as being in animal bodies that are meant to find things that give nourishment and stay away from things that could kill us or hurt us. So we remember the dangerous things. But I would say to really thrive, and my definition of thriving is that our thriving inspires the thriving, supports the thriving of everything in our environment. To truly thrive, we need to seek out what's nourishing. Starting with our own thinking, our choices of entertainment, our choices of food. So are you hearing there's an opportunity to look at every part of the life as a contribution to abundant living? So the title of this masterclass was Simply Abundant. It may not sound so simple right now, but it actually really is. Be vigilant with every thought. Everything you want comes through a combination of intention, attention, and willpower. To finish the example of folks who maybe get some money and then suddenly get a huge bill, or or get a whole bunch of experiences of being uplifted and loved and then go get sick again or whatever it is. There's this important necessity to be in closer observation of how we're directing energy with our thoughts and our emotions, to have practices that can transform this, that can dissolve, that can meet and metabolize tension and release it into creative power, and to develop will. This is something that in this time, from my observation, is really flagging around the world, is the development of will. So many things have been done for us. And now we've got AI. I use it on the regular, but I don't let it do my thinking for me. I don't let it do my contemplation for me. I don't let it do my meditation for me. It can't. AI is not going to be able to chew my food for me. Maybe one day the robot can do that, but what do we lose by not chewing our own food? There are these glands behind the jaw that secrete a very healing substance, the name of which I've forgotten long ago, that when we chew sufficiently, I know people who arthritis cleared in their body by becoming really good at chewing till the food became a liquid. I digress. Willpower, the development of will. The development of will is one of the most important aspects of a thriving life. The will to do what we know to do when we know to do it, not procrastinate. If we're waiting for later to practice these teachings, for some people later won't come. Maybe next lifetime, if reincarnation is for sure a real thing. Seems like it, but who's to say for certain? So what is going to be your inspiration to take these tools and practice them with great will and non-grasping? Check in with yourself right now. What's your why? Forget about the how right now. What's your why? And who benefits with your why? Who gets to benefit? Really feel that, the reality of who actually gets to benefit with you thriving, with you abundant. Health, wealth, wisdom, and love. Intention, attention, and willpower. Vigilance with every thought. Choosing your thoughts rather than just have the mind take over. You either learn to master the mind or the mind masters you. It's that simple. Most of us here have real clarity that we've been mastered by the mind at certain moments, and there's been times when we've had peace of mind, spaciousness. I'm looking at several of you who've been on retreat with me, and the height of retreat, how glowing your faces were, how soft your shoulders had become, how upright your spinal position and the opening of your chest cavity. And then right to me, some folks, I'm not pointing anyone out in particular, week or two later, I crashed. Why do I have to crash after the retreat? Where are your thoughts going? Nobody poured crash onto your head. It's a habit of thinking. It's going back. The old habits are stronger than the new habits. Okay, so can we do something about that? Absolutely. That's the whole point of internal alchemy. The great work of alchemy, transforming lead to gold, is an analogy. It's a metaphor for the inner transformational process I'm inviting you to deepen. And it's a journey, and it takes time and consistency and commitment. There are many, many ways to go about this in terms of tools. Most of them involve beginning first thing in the morning, setting the tone for your nervous system and your mind. For those of you, raise your hand on the live if you've ever had a time in your life when you regularly, the first thing you did in the morning was listen to the news. Raise your hand. Now, Keep your hand up if it made you feel great about life and the possibilities for all of life. Not one hand. So why would you do that? There's research to show that people who listen to the news in the morning on a regular basis later in the day would report they had a bad day. Even if things went well for them in their life circumstances, the listening to the news occupies attention in a certain way. Now, some of you may be saying, well, how do I know what's going on? Are you kidding? Come on. You find out what you need to know. In this dumbing down of humanity through so many things being automatized and artificially intelligencized, it doesn't negate we have these innate capacities for feeling across the planet or across the galaxy. It's part of the gift of our aliveness is the recognition and the ability to sense things. But we need to wake that up more. And one of the main ways we wake this up is by spotting and reducing tension, resolving the tension patterns that obscure our thinking and our awareing. One of the areas I did not speak prolifically on today of health, wealth, wisdom, and love is wisdom. Wisdom. One of my teachers says over and over again, she says, wisdom is measured in how much you love. Your wisdom is measured in how much you love. Now, this love is not attachment. That's not love. This love is not infatuation. This is love. Love that actually is a force that others can feel. Your wisdom is measured by how much you've loved. The other way to look at wisdom, another way to look at wisdom, is awakening, wakefulness. Being conscious of, not just as a memory, the reality that enlightened consciousness is your consciousness. And you've been distracted in numerous ways for lifetimes. And one of the greatest forms of abundance is to wake up to your true nature, and by proxy or reciprocity, the recognition of the true nature of everything that exists. It's not just a thought. It transforms behavior. It transforms sense of self. Then we're no longer introverts or extroverts. We're aligned with the creative power of life. Now, to be clear, as a side note to this, it doesn't mean that you're going to, if you love strawberries, stop liking strawberries. Certain things seem to endure over the different awakenings. Endure over those different awakenings. You know, menus put in front of you, something knows, I would like pad thai, not fish today. Or I would like pizza, or I would like a lovely salad. You can know that. You can know that in the moment. So we don't need to be living in thought all day long to be abundant and to be making a difference in this world. Most things can be known as they're needed to be known. Okay, you're writing a business plan. You can sense, if it is the right time for the business plan, what all needs to be included in there at this time. That may change in 2 months after you've presented a few times, but you can know what there is to know when it's due now. So we can know through the truth of the present moment what's relevant, important, and beneficial for everyone involved without having to get lost in ordinary thinking mind. There's been plenty of research done by Daniel P. Brown when he was alive at Harvard, where he was an associate professor for 35 years in psychology. And he also happened to be one of the preeminent translators of Tibetan Mahamudra and Dzogchen texts and be teaching in a lineage, awakening. And he did so much research with meditators using fMRIs and other ways of assessing, and proved that awareness moves many times faster than ordinary thought. I don't have the time to fully tease that out. It's very, very challenging for me to describe in ordinary linear words that you can think about awareness. Awareness is what is aware that you're having thoughts, but usually we're just aware of what we're thinking about. Awareness is already awake, already everywhere, and can never be reduced. But we can pinch ourselves off from it, the way we've pinched ourselves off from abundance in other ways. Notice your body right now and see what's changed since you first sat down for this session. What, if anything, has changed? How has your inner state changed at all? In the live, the stillness is so palpable and juicy for me with all of you. It's so juicy. With your eyes closed or open, see, feel, or imagine freshly again. Use your imagination. What would it feel like to be thriving, to be abundant and know it in all the key areas? Health and vitality, relationships and intimacy, business and finance, service to humanity, awakening, play, fun, and joy. What would it really feel like if you knew that was so for you right now? And what happens in your body as you're considering it, as you're really opening to considering it? This is a contemplative practice, not a thinking practice. Raise your hand on the live if this practice makes a difference in how you feel and you're noticing it now. So remind yourself of that in a half an hour and in 2 hours and tonight and tomorrow in compelling and inspiring ways. Compelling and inspiring ways. So for me, having this packet of $10,000 of set money, prop money, that looks like real money, except if you look close, it is a compelling and inspiring reminder of the feeling of already having. Around my space, my apartment, there are signs plenty of them over the kitchen sink where I spend a lot of time washing the dishes and whatnot. A bathroom mirror, on my door before I leave, on my door as I enter. Some of them I change around to shape and direct my awareness and my thinking. I wrote in permanent marker, I can take it off when it's time to move out of the apartment, but I've been here 20 years. But pretty early on, I wrote this quote from the Course in Miracles. Only loving thoughts are true, right on the mirror. What better place to put it in the mirror for folks like us who can judge our appearance? Only loving thoughts are true. So what will you put in your space from this call, from this masterclass? What will you put into place? Some of you may have gotten everything you needed and you know it, and you're going to be off to the races for the betterment of yourself and all those who you're connected with. For many of us, and I'll include myself in this is an ongoing study and practice that there's no end. Just like awakening, there's no end. It may seem like it. Certain realizations may seem at the moment rather stunning and like they're the full Monty. There's always more. There's always more. In fact, each of the different paths lead to distinct realizations. They're not all the same. There are dualistic realizations, there are non-dualistic realizations. There are those that are both, those that are neither. and those that can't be spoken. So for many of us, we need a structure. We benefit from a structure that we can follow. Some of you did John Randolph Price's 40-Day Abundance Plan. Many people I've encouraged to do that. The book is only $7. Many people I've encouraged to do that have told me, oh, I got halfway through. Interesting. So what can you learn about yourself? Not judge about yourself, but what can you learn about yourself and use that learning to how you're going to apply yourself to this work of prosperity. I'm assuming that if you're in this call, some part of you cares to prosper more, whether that's for your own benefit or others or both. Raise your hand on the live if that's you. Okay, act like it after the call. Yeah? Inspire yourself. Inspire yourself. Now, something I'll tell you that I'm going to say in other places too in our upcoming course, when you're doing these practices, you do not speak about them to other people who are doing them, not doing them. It'll invite doubt that'll bring you back down again. Oh, well, maybe they're right. So secrecy is not about being weird and trippy, like we've got some special cult and a special handshake and only the special people can know. It's not like that at all. This information is out there. The thing is not to leak or dissipate the energy of creative power. If you have the good fortune to know somebody else who is in this master class, who you feel connected with and feel like you can support each other without getting jealous or envious of each other's wins, there can be a very powerful collaboration, what Napoleon Hill called the mastermind process. 2 or more minds empowering one another. This is what's happening when we gather as a group, whether it's live or in a later now. There's an empowerment, there's a magnification. So in that regard, I am delighted, beyond delighted, to share with you the birth of a course that's been taking shape for many years. It's a 90-day journey. Most people are going to do it more than once. You only buy it once, but like my course, all my courses are designed to be done more than once because the journey goes deeper each time. You hear new things. You hear things in new ways as you evolve. And 90 days is long enough to see a shift. Caitlin has just put the link for this course in the chat. Prospering, simply called Prospering, a 90-day abundance plan. I added the phraseology to transform your whole life. This is being filmed as it's being created in this 90 days. It's one of the most exciting periods of my life when I'm in course creation mode. Everything is focused on that. In fact, I want to make a little, I meant to double click under this and say this to you. Wandering mind is one of the main causes of poverty, drifting mind, and fear. You have drift into fear. Getting caught up in things that are untrue or problematic or that use up energy and don't give any energy back. One of the keys to transforming that drifting is to have a definite purpose that you know matters to you. When I'm in course creation mode, especially this course, I am laser focused. Already habits have transformed in my life that I didn't know needed to when I started this. My schedule looks different. My orientation to a moment looks different. Because of this definiteness of purpose that matters. So when you form an intention that really matters to you and you keep it alive in your spaces where you spend time, it's easy to keep coming back to what you've chosen rather than get pulled by old patterns of thinking, yours or society's. So 90 days is, some of the research says 90 days is enough time to change a habit. For me, it's a lifetime process of continuing to go deeper. 90 days is a good start for me, but I'm going to always go further. And I invite you to as well. So during this filming, the bonus gift to everybody who chooses to register is, during the filming, I'm going to give y'all 4 bonus live calls with me. The first one will be a live kickoff call on the 31st of this month, May 31st. So you'll Want to be registered before then. In fact, you can start the course today because there's already material there for you to welcome you. There's already a module in there and documents to be working with. And there's already a mantra you can work with too. And then there'll be 3 Q&A calls, one each month over the 12 weeks. Do you have to be at the live calls live to receive them? No, they'll all be put in your course library. They'll all be put in your course library. So if you'll permit me, I'd like to just tell you a little bit more. I know you can look at the website, but I'd like to tell you a little bit more. I'm so excited. It's like I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to be able to tell you about this and trying to keep it quiet until it was the right moment. Not so easy. So there are 3 months. Each month is focused in a particular theme, and there'll be practices, guided meditations, contemplations, suggested journal prompts, and so much more. So month 1, as within, so without. This is talking about the law of correspondence. That's the essay by Emerson, not compensation. The law of correspondence. Correspondence, if you want to look it up. It's not easy reading, by the way. It's very old English, but it's powerful. So as within, so without refers to an old alchemical teaching that also can be spoken as above, so below. As above, so below, one of the ways we can see this is all the powers of the divine are right here within us. The divine is infinitely omnipresent, meaning equally everywhere. So all the powers of the divine are within you. As within, so without is this reciprocity between what we're thinking and feeling and what shows up in our lives and the lives of others that we're connected with. So the predominant feeling and predominant thoughts we're having are setting up what we're going to attract, repel, see, not see. As within, so without, health, wealth, wisdom, and love. Month 2, we're deepening the focus because you'll be ready in month 2. What you're thinking is what you're getting more of. You're going to have more focusing power at that point in the course, in the training, for being vigilant with every thought. Where attention goes, energy always follows. And then month 3, be the change you wish to see in your world, being it before you're seeing it. There's so much more, so much more, so much more. If you scroll down when you go to the landing page for this, and I really love the picture at the top, this lady walking through all these flowers. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see there's questions you can open up, these accordions where you can click, like, how is this different than the Thriving Life Blueprint? It's very different, I'll tell you now. Are there similarities? Here and there, yeah. The energy is there fully. Thriving Life Blueprint is more about bringing things into existence. Projects from inspiration to completion and celebration. Navigating challenges and obstacles. So there'll be some crossover and you will find benefit, those of you who've done that course, applying yourself to this course. But they are distinct. How is this different than the Abundant Joy on Commune? Very, very different. My understanding has grown radically since then. Does that invalidate the Abundant Joy teachings? Not at all. If that's what you're able to do and you're able to stick with and you have that course, okay, fine. But work it. Work it. We're going much further here. With that course on Commune, there were certain things I could say, certain things I was encouraged not to say by my director or my editor for a wider audience. This is my platform, and I get to give exactly what I sense wants to come through, and more. And you all know me well by now. I'm always going to give more. I'm always going to do my best to give more. So generally, like I said to some of you a couple weeks ago when I was talking about teasing out this program, letting you know it's coming, it'll be like 20 to 30 minute video once a week. Folks, it's already over that. It's more than that. I can't help myself. I want you to have all the tools. I rein myself in as best I can, but I want you to have all the tools and as much of a transmission of awareness as possible. This course will come with a mantra. It starts with one mantra to make space and set us up for what will be the main course mantra. Do you have to do it? No. Will it make a difference if you choose to open to it? Absolutely. For a variety of reasons. Because all the transformative power of the entire course journey is contained within the sound pulsations of the mantra. That's the difference, as I was pointing out earlier, between ordinary thinking and the infinitely faster speed of awareness. Mantras are working at the speed of awareness. may take our ordinary mind time to catch up to recognizing that, but so it is. So I'm willing to go a little bit over here and unlock the chat. If you have any practical questions about what we've spoken about or this upcoming course, I'll take a few moments now. And if there are no questions, we'll end with a big smile and see each other very soon. So let's see, are there any questions you want to type into the chat? If you want it to be anonymous, type it as a direct message to me directly, and then I won't name any names. Somebody started to write to me directly. I wonder if you can tell me if you, and then I wonder if I'm supposed to make up the rest. So if you can still type the rest, it didn't come through there. You wonder if I can tell you what? The winning lottery numbers? Not necessarily. Oh, now are you asking if I am? If I am neurodivergent? Okay. Gosh, I don't know how to know that. I've not been properly evaluated. Somebody who really knows that world says I am, but I don't know how I would know, and I don't know if it would benefit me to know one way or another. I mean, I've always felt weird. And, when I realized I was gay, that seemed to be, well, maybe that's it. But really, I've been interested in consciousness ever since I was a kid and exploring it deeply and heavily, like totally geeking out on it. So that's also made me different than a lot of folks who've just been like, doing whatever society did. I've recently learned that I am neurodivergent and that learning from anyone who isn't is a bit of a waste of time. I want to invite you to consider that everyone is. Knowingly or unknowingly. And certain folks have a better bedside manner than others. If we talk about going to see a doctor, bedside manner makes all the difference. I will take somebody who's kind any day of the week. Kind, compassionate, and honest about what they do and don't know over somebody who just pretends to have it all together and is really bossy as a doctor. So I have a feeling what you might be pointing at is wanting to be seen and understood so that the teachings can be shaped, or you can help to shape them with the support in ways you can work with them. But to be included, to not be disenfranchised, to have an understanding that we don't all see and think and experience life in the same ways is really, really important. To have room for different ways of seeing and thinking and feeling. For example, some of us are more kinesthetic. We learn by touching, doing, using manipulatives like a model, to learn. Some of us can learn by hearing. I have a fairly audiographic memory. I don't know if that makes me neurodivergent, but I often remember word for word what was said or that I read. Like I have a slightly photographic memory. I can look in my memory at a long series of mantras and see the page in my head and at least have a sense of where I am. It took a while to realize that was going on. And probably other things that I don't even know that I got going on. We all have so many gifts. I'm so curious with people who are profiled as neurodivergent to see what are the gifts. If anything's compromised, usually something else is gifted, often. Some are further on the edges, yeah. Great, yeah. One of the things I'll tell you about this course, and I'll say it in the course, is I'm going to give a lot of practices and tools and teachings. You're not expected to do them all. It would be overwhelming. What you're going to need to do is practice with the different things long enough, week by week, to see, okay, do I have an instinct that this one is one to work with? Maybe it's writing down your desires every morning for the day, the month, and checking out your year list. For some people, that's really, I'm in and out of that one. But that's one that's a time-tested one that for a lot of people works. For some people, it doesn't. For some of you, it's going to work really well to do it in pictures. To be imaging in pictures that are physical, that help you to remember it when you're not looking at your treasure map. Other people, that's not so much your way. So everybody's going to have a different way, and I'm going to try and give as many options as possible, knowing that the through line is intention, attention, and willpower. What you're thinking, you're getting more of. Your predominant thoughts combined with your predominant emotions are shaping and directing energy, for better or worse. It's so exciting to finally be unveiling this. It's so exciting for me to finally, it's similarly, it's so exciting to have unveiled the podcast. I feel like they are very related. Can I say why and how? Not right in this moment. Caitlin, do you have a link to the podcast? We'll put that up. And those of you watching it later now, I'll put these links below the comment box in the YouTube. So the replay will be posted as within YouTube. It'll be a public link, so you can share it. And then these notes will be under it. So do you have the Apple one or just the YouTube one? Yeah. So the podcast, The Choice to Grow, is on YouTube, it's on Apple, and it's also on Spotify. And it's on a few smaller ones that I don't know about that it gets sent to as well. So there should be a platform for everybody. There's 3 dialogues up there already. There's another one coming on Monday with my dear friend Elena Brower. I'm super excited about. So there's lots available, lots available. Thank you for your time. I don't take that lightly. Or your trust. These are 2 very important things. The only thing we own in life is our attention. Everything else can be taken away. But we do own our attention, and we learn how to free it up through this work of prospering. So may the fruits of our practices, whether you join this course now, or you join it later, or you do it something in your own way out in the world, may the fruits of all of our practices uplift all beings, as well as the earth. May we be happy. May we be well. May we feel thoroughly loved. May we be healthy, wealthy, wise, and loving, even when it's most difficult. So with so much respect and so much love, thank you. Have a beautiful night, day, afternoon, whatever's next for you. And I look forward to seeing you soon.